Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat a little bit, about the idea that junk volume may not really even exist. And again, I understand there's a lot of nuance, a lot of complexity to this. I'm simply going to present a case for this as someone who has always kind of even said historically, yeah, we probably do need to be maybe a little careful about junk volume, all right? But here's my question with it. Do we really need to be careful about it? Because if something is junk volume, and junk volume, here's what junk volume is defined as. Junk volume is defined as any training volume that we do that does not elicit a training response, meaning we've exceeded what we're going to adapt to, maybe our recovery is compromised enough or whatever, that we're just simply not seeing any more progress as a result of doing it. But it's not overtraining, because overtraining is going to be a detriment, right? So hopefully people understand that difference. Uh, and I guess we could look at volume and place it into three categories. Actually, we place it in four categories. It could be not enough, right? Which we all know what that means. Not enough. It's probably not even enough to make any gains. Maybe not even enough to keep what you have. It's just not enough, right? You're going to have positive, beneficial volume. You've done enough volume, and that's going to be a pretty large range. That's not good. It's going to be a very, very large range. You've done enough volume to see a positive benefit, and you are stimulating a positive change in your body. Okay, beneficial volume. So we got insufficient, beneficial. Then we would have the category of junk volume, which is a hypothetical category. We do use that term a lot, but it's a hypothetical category because we've never quite really pinned down really where it is, scientifically. And even though many of us use the term, I use the term, right? Junk volume means it's just not having any further benefit. Like you have the beneficial volume, and then when the beneficial volume ceases to be beneficial, and let's say whatever that number is, you're benefiting up to X number of sets, and then you keep benefiting a little more if you do more. And then when you go to a certain point, it's just not doing anything extra other than you just spending time pumping the weight. Okay? And then we would have detrimental, like overtraining. Well, what would that mean? You're training so hard that you're under recovering to the point to where you are losing progress. Okay? We are sliding backwards. All right. Here's the problem. Is junk volume a problem? It's a time management problem, potentially. And again, I think the situation, when we try to look at the data that's there, and again, keep in mind, I always point out exercise science is very incomplete. Studies are often so poorly done that it's hard to draw conclusions from, not enough people. Okay? We are so far from this being a complete science that it does still fall largely in the area of hardcore. Here's probably the reality of the junk volume situation. It is usually a point of just very, very diminished returns, meaning it might be at the 10 set mark, it might be at the 20 set mark per week, somewhere in there, to where the additional volume you're adding is having such a small additive effect that it may not be barely measurable with instruments, might not be statistically significant because it's problematic with measuring it person to person. So I don't know that junk volume really exists because, when we are getting some data looking at things, they're finding, well, yeah, increasing these volumes up here is a very potentially small increase. Okay? And this is not a case where I'm going to say, oh, trust the science, because the science is far from complete in this area. And again, we need to be very clear there. But I think the area we're calling junk volume is most likely just an entire area of dramatically diminished returns. Because I've also heard Greg Knuckles echo that sentiment a few years back, and I didn't necessarily agree with him at the time. But I don't know, it makes some sense. Logically speaking, it does make sense. He's like, I don't know that there really is such a thing as junk volume. And I have to look at it and say he's probably right. It probably isn't really a real problem. Meaning, okay, so you spend an extra 6 hours in the gym for a 0.5% more gain or whatever, right? Okay. All right. As long as we aren't having overuse injuries and you have the free time, I don't think it's a problem. But I think this whole rapidly diminished return thing that we're talking about with this is a problem for people with time issues, okay? And I think that's why this is a topic that needs to be discussed with that is not everyone has the same amount of gym time, okay? They just don't. People can say, well, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. Okay. No, they really don't, though. That's a nice thing to say, and influencers like to say that, but our lives revolve around this. A lot of people have a lot of responsibilities. So in that case, it makes sense to say, look, 10 or 12 sets might be, or 15 sets total might be sufficient. You're going to get the overwhelming vast majority of your gains. It's going to fit within your time window that you can allocate to the gym, and there you go. But it doesn't mean there's no benefit. And then we get into the other issues of what if there's very minimal muscle benefit, but how about just simple nutrient partitioning? The higher activity level and just choosing to do more weights for it could have some potential issues for improved insulin sensitivity and nutrient partitioning, burning through calories, metabolic benefits that exist, potentially beyond just us gaining muscle, because at the end of the day there are health benefits to being more physically active. That's why all these high step counts are often correlated with very favorable health outcomes. Okay, but in this case, in some case, people's training volumes just are simply so high that starts turning into just their non-exercise benefit. It's just higher physical activity, and people who like to lift could choose to do that. And I think that's really, I honestly think that is a more rational view of it, and most likely the way these things really work ultimately. There probably isn't so much a thing as true junk volume as a point of diminished returns, to where a person absolutely has to discuss their personal time investment. And then, of course, yoga training in if their lifestyle's not in order with all of it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.